Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. And if this is your first time here, hello, welcome. And this is Essential Patience and I Am Patience. In today's video, I am continuing an unofficial series, by the way, that I've been doing for about 3 months now on this channel, looking at the most expensive and least expensive places to live. And we've covered the most expensive states, least expensive states, most expensive cities, least expensive cities. And remember to watch those videos if you haven't already. And today's video, by the title, you can tell that we're going to be looking at the 25 most expensive countries in the world. We're going to learn about the country, the cost of living index, as well as just a little something to understand why it's so expensive. So without wasting any more time, be sure to like this video and subscribe if you haven't already. Let's get into our list. Coming in at number 25 is France. That's how I hear them pronounce it, the Miss Universe and stuff pageants.
What the hell?
So the cost of living index is 74.13 and the local purchasing power is 85.41. The article goes on to say that France has a high cost of living and it is about 3% more expensive compared to life in the US. You save the most on rent, which is more affordable, though groceries and healthcare are higher. I always wondered if they have like universal healthcare like, Canada. Now let's move on to number 24, which is Finland. Finland has a cost of living index of 73.2 and the purchasing power, local purchasing power, is 91.02. It says, even though Finland is one of the world's most expensive countries to live in, rents are relatively low, averaging 786.16 cents per month. Wow, can you imagine that? You can't even get that here in Texas. Anyway, it also says that groceries run about 5% cheaper, though healthcare is about 7% higher. So it doesn't sound that bad. That's good. Now, number 23 is Sweden, which the cost of living index is at 71.74. We can tell that local purchasing power is 98.14. It says Sweden's high cost of living is tempered with a solid purchasing power. However, the country has a higher tax rate, with personal income tax hovering around 32%. It's probably good if they get a lot of benefits, which I know Sweden has very cheap education if it's not free, and they have a lot of benefits for their citizens. So I think that's probably why the taxes are higher. Benefits seem to be good. Number 22 is Belgium, which has a cost of living index of 72.61. The local purchasing power is 79.72. It goes on to say maybe it's all the chocolate they make, but it's a tiny bit more expensive to live in Belgium than in the US overall. However, Belgians pay about 5% more in healthcare costs. Number 20 is Venezuela. So right now we've been talking a lot about like European countries. So this is the first South American country to make its appearance. The cost of living index is 43.2 and the local purchasing power is 15.41. So you have to understand that this is not just about the index. It's about how the people living there can afford it. Not just people in the US going there and being able to afford it, but the local people, they're making those local wages. How can they afford it? So when the cost of living index is so high and over double compared to the local purchasing power, you know it's expensive to live in. It says Venezuela is another country where the cost of living is much lower than the US, but the purchasing power is extremely low. Groceries, rents, healthcare costs are significantly lower here, though it is still considered an expensive country overall. Number 20 is the UK, which especially now with the Brexit, just the economy going down, it is still something that we have to keep monitoring to see what's going to happen, because economists are doubting their economic power around the world. It says that the cost of living index is 69.65, while the local purchasing power is 88.78. And it says though overall the cost of living in the UK is less than the full percentage point cheaper than the US, People in the UK pay about 13% less in groceries than in the US. Britons pay more taxes, though with the higher end of 45% in personal income tax rate. So they pay a lot of taxes. Number 19 is Panama, which the cost of living index is 51.43 and the local purchasing power is 33.09. Panama's cost of living is 20% cheaper than the US in general, but ranks in the top 20 worldwide. Healthcare and groceries costs are still cheaper than the US, however. So again, it's about the local purchasing power, which is not as much. Number 18 is Trinidad and Tobago, which has a cost of living index of 54.88 and the local purchasing power is 38.47. It says with rent costs are among the lowest on the list and groceries about 16% lower, it is easy to live a good life in Trinidad and Tobago. Number 17 is Italy, which has a cost of living index of 66.47 and the local purchasing power of 61.74. It says that Italy has a high cost of living that's less than 3% cheaper than the US in general and ranks among top 20 worldwide. Healthcare and groceries are still cheaper than in the US. And then number 16, the first African country makes its appearance in the form of Nigeria, which has a cost of living index of 30.49 and a local purchasing power of 9.34. It says Nigeria may be on the list of the most expensive countries, but in contrast to the US, it is quite a bit cheaper. Its cost of living is almost 40% less than in the US, but its purchasing power is remarkably low. Nigerians pay about $713.99 in rent a month, and healthcare costs are about 20% less than in the US. Number 15 is Denmark, which has a cost of living index of 84.12 and the local purchasing power of 99.45. It says that even though this country is marginally cheaper to live in, it is still about 14% more expensive than in the US in overall cost of living. While residents here enjoy more purchasing power than in other countries, it is still lower than the US. And number 14 is United Arab Emirates, which has the cost of living index of 58.33 and the local purchasing power of 92.17. It says that UAE is one of the most expensive countries, yet its cost of living is 12%, it's almost 12% less to live in compared to the US average. Other advantages come through in a groceries cost that is about 22% less than in the US and the lack of personal income taxes. Can you imagine that? No income taxes. Number 13 is Cyprus, which has the cost of living index of 59.03 and the local purchasing power of 57.31. And it says that although Cyprus has a high cost of living, it is less pricey than in the US as a whole. And the average rent is only $674.82 per month. And the groceries is almost 20% cheaper than in the US. Number 12 comes in the form of New Zealand, and it has the cost of living index of 74.52 and the local purchasing power of 83.61. It says that New Zealand cost of living is not quite 5% higher than the US, even though it is one of the most expensive countries to live in. New Zealand pays about 2% more in groceries and almost 4% in healthcare costs than the US. Number 11 is its neighbor Australia, and Australia has a cost of living index of 77.75 and the local purchasing power of 104.63. It says that although Australia is one of the most expensive countries to live in, residents enjoy some of the highest purchasing power in the world. The country ranks among number 3 in this regard and granting its citizens almost 5% more purchasing power than in the US. Now let's move into the top 10 most expensive countries in the world, because number 10 is the Netherlands, which the cost of living index is 75.66 with a local purchasing power of 87.99. It says that the Netherlands is less than 5% more expensive than in the US overall, But don't fool yourself. It costs far more to live in the Netherlands than in the US in general. It is also not very tax friendly, with personal income tax rates going up to 49.5%. And you know one thing about the US, they don't like taxes. Number 9 is Qatar, where the cost of living index is 62.81 and the local purchasing power is 93.67. It says it's no secret that Qatar has a high cost of living. Rent is on average $1,441.02 per month as well. The upside is that groceries are about 15% lower than in the US. Number 8 is Canada, with Canada having a cost of living index of 70.22 and the local purchasing power of 87.98. It says that our northern neighbors, Canada, enjoys a cost of living that is comparable to that of the US as a whole. However, your purchasing power is a lot weaker in Canada at less than 8% in the US. Canadians pay about 43% less in rent, however, and a few percentages more points for healthcare. Number 7 is Lebanon, which has a cost of living index of 69.62 but a local purchasing power of 53.12. It says that Lebanon's cost of living is actually only less than half a percentage cheaper than in the US overall, but its local purchasing power is less than 70% as much in the US in your access. Rent, however, is much lower than a lot of them on this list and averages about $566.60 per month. Number 6 is Israel, and the cost of living index is 88.05 with a local purchasing power of 75.58. It says that Israel's cost of living is almost 18% higher than the US average. Rent here is about $1,082.33 per month, and the groceries are about 6% higher than in the US. Now we are making our way to top 5, and coming in at number 5 is Norway, which it says that the cost of living index is 100.9 and the local purchasing power is 83.11. It says that while rent is on the lower side in Norway, averaging $952.03 a month, groceries are almost 27% more expensive than in the US. Can you imagine? 27% more expensive. Number 4 is Ireland, which has a cost of living index of 76.05 and the local purchasing power of 82.27. It says that you might not expect Ireland to be on top 5 most expensive countries, but it is here. Groceries cost about 8% lower in the US. It has nearly 23% less purchasing power than in the US. And number 3 is Iceland, cost of living index of 94.86 and the local purchasing power of 77.06. It says that Iceland's high cost of living isn't due to housing. You could rent a home for about $1,243.80. However, it's food that is pricey. You will spend 20% more on groceries than in the US. Number 2 is Singapore, which Singapore has a cost of living index of 83.98 and a local purchasing power of 91.34. It says that rent in Singapore is $1,908.42 per month, but its cost of living is only slightly more than 6% higher than the US. And number 1 on our list is Switzerland, which has a cost of living index of 123.35 and the local purchasing power of 118.44. It says that Switzerland has one of the highest costs of living in the world. Rent is only $1,516.83, but worldwide income tax can run up to 40%. You are even taxed for living in your own home. However, Swiss citizens at least enjoy purchasing power that is 12.1% higher compared to New York. So as we can see, this list was a roller coaster. I don't know. I didn't see the United States on this list. I somehow expected the United States to be on there. And a lot of time you can see that was compared to the US because a lot of people reading were probably from the US. I think the United States is expensive. When you compare other countries and their purchasing power, you can see that it's doing relatively okay. I mean, we can still complain, but it's also good to research and to read about other countries so that we're having a good idea about the entire entire world and know that it's not just here in the United States. But with that, I'm bringing this video to an end. Remember to like this video and subscribe if you haven't already. Remember to also ring the notification bell because I post 2 videos a week on Tuesdays and Fridays. So leave your comments in the comment section and let me know what country did you expect to be on here and how do you think these countries just compare to the United States as a whole. But thank you for watching and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.